Well, let's get some analysis on all of this with Ghassan Elkahlout. He's the director of the Center for Conflict and Humanitarian Studies at the Doha Institute. Really appreciate you taking out the time to speak to us on TRT World. Now, given what we've seen over the past week in terms of those negotiations, can you see another extension reaching into Friday and possibly beyond?
Thank you for hosting me today. And certainly, I can see that there's a possibility for extension of a humanitarian pause. However, I suspect that this would be anything more than for a few days. And my view on this, that what we can see from the Israeli leaders and, continuous speaking about war, and, they are keen to return to fighting and to achieve some more victory, that they can show to the Israeli people that it is the achievement of the military operation against Gaza. So I can see that, the humanitarian pause would be extended, but once all the Israeli civilians are released, I'm expecting that there will be a continuation of military operation against Gaza.
We heard from our correspondent in Gaza saying that there's a lot of concern among Palestinians about what happens, as you've just said, when Hamas has released all the civilian hostages, when only the Israeli hostages are still being left, or Israeli soldiers rather. What is the next step after that? What happens with regards to negotiations?
Yeah, what we have seen, when we have the number of Israeli captives and hostages in Gaza, and when they have been, when we have started, to release some of them, and we have the civilians are all gone, we are all familiar with the Israeli directive, Hannibal directive, that they don't have restriction on killing Israeli soldiers when they are with the enemy forces. So once all the civilians are released, and as I said before, that the Israeli will be keen to go back to fighting. There's no restriction on killing the soldiers, and they consider that it is part of their military operation in Gaza.
Many are hoping that this humanitarian pause will lead to a permanent ceasefire. How far are we from an end to this war?
Yeah, if it is, my reading of the Israeli political scene now, as we have just seen in the news in the last half an hour, and the intention that that they are calling for the war and they want to continue. It is all with the changing circumstances in the international, scene, and the changes we have witnessed in the public opinion worldwide, and the changes even in the way that the American administration sees the war. So, with the American pressure, with the continuous, Qatari and the Egyptian trial, to achieve ceasefire, I believe it might be possible. But with the Israeli, I believe that they are keen, to continue on doing the operation in Gaza. What we have seen in their continuous statement is not only about the war, it is also about, transfer of Palestinian people. It is about ethnic cleansing. It is about also encouraging Western and international, different countries to host refugees coming from Gaza, speaking about safe humanitarian corridor that they want, to push Palestinians to leave Palestine. Yeah.
You are a Palestinian. You write that you grew up in a refugee camp in Gaza. And last month, in an opinion piece, you wrote that you believe Palestinians are at and I quote here, a turning point in our struggle. What is that turning point?
Yeah. What we have seen, the huge scale of destruction in Gaza, and the way that Israel has conducted this military operation, it shows that it is a turning point. It has disclosed what we have been as Palestinians enduring for decades. The international community start to know about what's happening in Palestine. They have started to know about the story of Palestinians, but still I am still worried and concerned about the Israeli intentions and about those 2.4 million Palestinians in Gaza And the turning point that I was fearing, that the Israeli, especially with the early days of the military operation in Gaza and the military aggression in Gaza, with the ultimate support that Israel has received from United States and Western countries, that it was another Nakba in the Palestinian history, is to push Palestinians to leave Gaza with, the starving, with the lack of, no access to food, no access to water, no access to anything. And this was one thing. And the other thing that, it is very important for us as Palestinians, that finally, as someone who has lived in a refugee camp, who has suffered under the Israeli, who went to prison when I was 17 years old, and I have seen the first Intifada in Palestine, and I have seen how we have been dehumanized over the years. I have seen how we have been humiliated over all history, and no one in the international community give any attention to the Palestinian suffering. And now, for even Palestinian, it's not only about that the story that we have managed, to convey to the international world and to tell them our story. It is also for the Palestinian that we start, to believe that our dreams are not far. I believe that with what happened in 7th October and the fall of, the superiority of the Israeli, state, that they are undefeated army, the most moral army in the world, that, they are very clever in killing children, burning and destroying houses in Gaza. So all these cliches and illusion, I think it's over. The Palestinians, they have similar and equal right to any human being in the world. We have the right to be free. We have the right to our own country. We have the right to get to return to our destroyed villages in 1948. It is our right that is stated in United Nations Resolution 194. So all these points, I believe that we need, to re-emphasize this message again. We are not just there in Palestine because we need sympathy of the international community. We're there in Palestine because it is our land. We are Palestinian living in Palestine, and we don't need to be cornered in this very small part in Palestine, just less than 10%, while we leaving the whole of Palestine for others to come and settle wherever they want in our country. Palestine is for Palestinians.
A turning point indeed. Ghassan Elkahlout, live to us from Istanbul. Thank you so much.